us to our first talking point. Here we'll be looking at 2023. We all know it's just by the corner, and we have been seeing, fireworks from different parties. We've been seeing somewhat of defection, Yeah, to do this, I have with me Comrade Bello Osaritin. He's the convener plan. Very good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, my very dear friend.
Yeah, you have seen what has been happening in the political space. PDP just did hold its convention. We saw the caliber of people produced. APC may be warming up. What do you make of all of this?
At this point, I'm going to talk as a nationalist. I'm not a PDP person. However, we must give kudos so that we encourage other political parties to do what is right. You agree with the fact that prior before the PDP convention, they have moved away from the usual way of doing things. The PDP, I think they have listened to the people, especially the PDPians, by making a 25 years old young man the youth leader.
What does that imply?
It is unprecedented. Before now, you see people of 64, 65 parading themselves as youth leader. So we have to give that to them. That implies that there's a paradigm shift from the usual old way of doing things. And we appeal to other parties to follow suit. I'm not surprised that the not too young to run bill is now working.
Yeah, but the not too young to run bill, which of course gives some kind of backing to the youth to run for political offices. It appears it is just where it is.
You recall that the not too young to run bill was signed into law at the weed of 2019 election. Even the president jokingly said that time that he's appealing to us not to run against him. So I think the stage is set now. The not too young to run bill does not mean that it's restricted to people between 18 to 40. It is a little beyond that. That is why we are now clamoring to put the benchmark, to put the wedge at 65. So if you go around town, you will see that the young men have started conscientizing themselves that there is need for them to rise to the occasion and take power that will never be given a la carte.
Now, irrespective of the political party, one thing that is expected from whoever emerges as a candidate or as a political party is good governance, right? So as somebody who has been watching from afar, what kind of governance do you expect come 2023?
I think when we talk of governance, we're also talking of government.
Yes.
And the spirits that drive good governance lies on the shoulder of leadership. Political parties are vehicles to actualize credible leadership. If the process of training up credible leaders to run the state is 40, you cannot have to be talking of good governance. So that's why we are starting early in the day to look for the black goat before it is dark, because the black goat is synonymous with darkness. 2023 is not going to be business as usual. The good governance system we are talking about is when you have the right people at the right place. People that will not deploy nepotic antics, that will not see religions as a tool of leading the people. People that understand the dynamics of governance, especially the economic indices, not political. Everything is not politics. So when the common on the street cannot afford to buy one mudu of rice, you cannot ascribe that to good governance. So by God's grace, the awareness is very high today. People are not going to throw away their powers of voting the right person, which is part of the processes of good governance. That's where we come into the fray to start conscientizing the people to understand that when you have bad leadership in space, you can't expect good governance.
So, as far as the country is concerned, you know, many people are already angling to, you know, be the next president. So many people, even among governors, some of them want to be among, you know, ex-governors. Some of them want to come. Those at the international level want to come back home and fly the flag. But we understand that, well, age is of the essence. So what age do you think it should be pegged at across board?
The issue of pegging age benchmark for who becomes the president of this country, I think it's not a questionable issue. We are pushing that on the ground of morality. As you may see this interview, this interaction, I know I left my house 5:30 to meet this appointment at 8. I don't think a man of 75 can do that. That is what we are talking about. We have tried to estray and do in-depth analysis where we get to where we are today. We have discovered that some class of people are using age as a bait to play down on the sensibility of the people. In the 21st century, it is only in Nigeria, another country that tries such is Pakistan, where a man that has ruled you for decades, he will come back again after 30 or 40 years. And at that time, you that were 20 years at that time, you must have graduated to like 55. So you could see that you become the lost generation. So we are putting age, trying to peg the age at 65 for president. We are not saying for governor or for senate. We are saying 65 for who become president, because we want the country to move forward, to move with supersonic speed, to catch up with other developed countries in the world. You cannot continue to be singing the same song over and over and expect a different tune. So we have discovered that age is very critical as we march towards 2023. We have people out of 250 million Nigerians.
Where are they? That's the question.
250 million Nigerians. You want to tell me that it is somewhere that is 90 years that can rule this country? The answer is no. The people, the young men now, the next generation, they are not ready, they are prepared. We have many of them scattered across Nigeria, even beyond.
But the question is, where are they?
Leadership is a process. You cannot tell me when you use the word "where are they," it's like you are out of this country. Like Baba Gana Zulum in Bono, is the young man not doing well? I'm taking it beyond party. It's Wake in Rivers. Is he not doing well? What about the JFK in Ekiti? Is he not doing well? Or have you forgotten the young man FDB Additional? Is he not having the capacity to be president of this country? Or are we not talking of the one, a former governor whose record is still standing at 38? His Excellency Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, who a former president of this country has ascribed as the next man that, I'm not trying to go forth for you, I'm not a spokesman, as the next material that can be the president of this country within that age bracket. There are so many of them. I just want to mention but few. What of the Amina Mohammed in the United Nations?
Or a female?
Yeah, a female.
Are we right to have a female president?
No, not is impossible. If you don't spread your wing, you don't know how far you can fly. Whoever told you that in the history of this country that a 25 years old man will be youth leader of PDP? Nothing is impossible. It is risky not to take a risk. We are telling you we are going to start conscientizing the mindset of the people to start looking at that direction. We can't continue to be crawling when others are running. We will not allow this country to have a president that will be embarking on what we call medical.
We can't go into all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just to look at 2023. Yes, and how we can have it, the way we want it,
yes,
so to speak, the way we want it,
yes,
because we have seen the outcome in Anambra. It appears the people's wish is, of course, Professor Soludo.
Yeah.
Can we have such in this country?
Your question is neither here nor there.
No, at times you just have to put it
the way it is.
The way it is.
Yeah. You have created another scenario. What happened in Anambra is what we are going to expect in 2023, where people will truly come out and vote their conscience. Do you know that people rejected money? It went viral.
Yeah, but there are some areas that people were seeking for money.
No. And they were getting. You see, the ones that rejected the money, they were in majority. That's why you had what happened in Anambra West mostly. Do you hear of any violence in Anambra election? No. The little hiccup we had was that some of the machines were not that functional. But the people really came out and did what is expected of them. That's their consciousness. They rejected money. That's why we are trying to tell them that money is not going to play a major factor as we push for the benchmark of 65. Anybody that is above 65 should start taking off, retiring out of the stage. We can't continue this rebarbative political jabber working. Yeah,
don't forget that those that are above that 65 years are the ones that can cough out 50 million, 100 million to buy, the form, expense of interest form. They are the ones that have the money to, to the land and brand of this country, campaigning. They are the ones that, what it takes now to 15 billion naira for president, 5 billion for governors. How many young men have that kind of money?
I don't understand what you are trying to say, whether money is one of the benchmark to throw up a credible leader.
We require money to start even the party primaries.
We agree.
Where the form is 27 million, how many young men can campaign?
Okay, you are very correct. What is it that when we get to the bridge, we shall cross it. And of course, when we have a good presidential material, as I earlier mentioned when I mentioned the likes of Ojus Okalu, we are going to do what's called crowdfunding. And of course, there's what we call a political action committee to ensure that that man, that woman, we feel that we take the fortune of this great country to Eldorado. All hands will be on deck to support such a character of person. Mark you, a couple of days ago, I was privy to the fact that a musician called Davido was able to raise 250 million within 2 days. Does that shock you? The consciousness of the people now today is very, 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 very high. You don't need to tell them that, look, the cloud is getting thicker. They don't know the game because he see that wear the shoes that knows where it pitches. We need young men to come on board, people that have the energy, people that have the vision to run with this country, so that the country will be bigger, better, and stronger to bring hope alive.
How do you cope with the internal party crisis that has to do with zoning?
Delving into that is like crying more than a belief. Every political party have their mechanism in organizing their internal affairs. what I'm discussing here, or rather what we are discussing here, we are taking it beyond political partisanship.
No, I'm just saying, for example, if you believe in Professor Babagana zoning of Borno State, for example, but it's not going to be, if the party didn't zone it to that, as is what happened. So it means that a credible person, because of zoning, has not been given the opportunity to become the president. If, for example, you say, okay, take it to the southwest, and no, if you say, for example, somebody in the southwest, like Addition, the president of AFDB, is supposed to, fly or be a presidential candidate, but because of zoning, is not taken to southwest, it means a credible leader is not given opportunity. So how do we, while we're looking for 2023 to have a credible person, the place of zoning, how can we marry these two?
You should know that for one to become president of this great country, you must run with a partner, called running mate. Leadership is a complex entity. It's all encompassing. Mark you, we are talking of merit here, and of course, the leaders of various parties, some of them are people that are well grounded in the razzle-dazzle of politics. I think before they do what they do, they must take into consideration the perception on the street, the thinking of the people.
You think so?
Yes, you know what happened in 2015. If you gamble with the strength of the people, we hold the demography. If you give us a candidate that is not sellable, we will show it. It will reflect the way we are going to vote. So it is a challenge to PDP, it is a challenge to APC to start doing the right thing. As I said before, it's not going to be business as usual. We cannot sit aloof or stand akimbo and allow our future to be grounded in the name of politics. So that's why we are coming out early in the day to start making the noise now that this is the thinking on the street. It's not by sitting in the comfort of your office and start doing what is not in the interest of the generalities of Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's not far, but if you are going to look at the economy now, how would you rate it? It's all a product of election.
I'm not an economist.
Yeah, but you go to the market.
What is happening today, it is unfortunate. I think it is a global issue. You cannot ascribe to the mass city there that is the one that put us where we are today, because the failure of Nigeria did not start today.
Nigeria has not failed.
It is an accumulation. That is your thought. It is an accumulation of failure of leadership. Let me just put it succinctly. It's an accumulation of things that were not done right over the years. Countries are advancing. Things are changing. So it is unfortunate that we are being left behind, looking one side of the economy, that is the oil industry, and abandoning other areas that would have brought fortune to the table. So far so good. We shall manage the system, and tough days never last, but tough people stay so.
Yeah, but the tough days are very painful.
Nothing good comes easy. I believe our dear President Muhammadu Buhari is doing his best. The situation calls for you and I to give him the support. We cannot be lamenting, we cannot be condemning all the time. As a citizen of this country, what is your support? What is your solution to the system? You cannot sit one in the angle of your office and start pontificating and start ascribing that this is not done this way, this is not done. Let us support him. If it is true prayers, you are going to use in supporting the same, do that. If it is true solutions, I think there are many channels that you can use to galvanize the system, so that we can, at the end of the day, we get it right.
In terms of priority for 2023, in terms of manifesto, when it's coming close now, we're going to be seeing parties, coming out with different agenda. Or when you see candidates, those that will, scale through, those that will fly the flag, will also come up with their own manifesto and priority. Which area will impress you in terms of, prioritizing what a candidate or party should promise?
I think like I told a friend of mine, that I don't need to know the president of this country if things are done right. There are areas that are very key, because most of all these big men, so to speak, they don't ply the roads, they take flight. Our roads are death trap. So if they can put that into their focus, so that the citizens will enjoy good roads, because if your roads are bad, it affects the prices of goods and services, especially farm produce from the interior. They can't get to the marketplace on time, like perishable items. And again, the energy sector. The energy is very key.
So much has been injected into that sector.
As I was coming
here, nothing is coming up from it.
As I was coming here, I saw that you are using a generator.
Of course.
You can see that it will affect your input and output. So they should look deep in that aspect. Of course, the health sector cannot be taken away, and the educational sector should also be looked.
Yeah, but if we have power and the tariff is on the high side, is that not like robbing to the people?
When you say tariff,
yeah,
is he that blows the pipers that dictate his tune. You know, we are no longer running PACN. All the system has been privatized
and regulated. Yes, which means they cannot just arbitrarily just give you a bill to pay.
People that put in money must try to recoup their money. So it is now energy in Nigeria is now business.
Yeah, but they made promise that they can run it.
Of course, that is now in the hands of government to look into it, that the citizens are not enjoying their services, and they need to reject the policies that give it to the private sector to so do. I think it's a continuous system. I believe both the private and the government, they should have the interest of the people at heart, and they should be nationalistic in all what they do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is said this morning on ITV we are looking at 2023. So much to look at when it comes to that aspect, and of course it's just a way of conscientizing everyone. Everybody has a role to play. We cannot continue to blame government, to blame leadership when you sit and fold your arms akimbo and you didn't play any role. It's time to, look deep and begin to speak the kind of leadership you want, so that for those that may be thinking of coming on board and they do not have the requirements, the type that you want, they may just be maybe they may be forced, so to speak, to cancel their plan. But the discussion has been with Comrade Bello Osaritin, and again I want to ask, where do you place politics of godfatherism as we approach 2023?
Godfatherism
is still there, very much there.
It's very thick in the system. You cannot take that away. That is why we are blowing the vuvuzela. Even the godfatherism, they are not even the one that are appointing people. They are even in the system. They want to even come on board. The godfatherism are like the kingmakers, but now they want to be the king. However, you cannot rule out godfatherism. But what we are trying to do is to minimize it. You know, you mentioned issue of money. These are the people that sponsors candidates, and so on and so forth. So what we are trying to appeal to them to have the fear of God, to have the fear of God, so that this country can move forward.
Are they religious?
You don't play politics. You put that aside. There are some countries in the world that don't believe in any religion, and they are doing very well. So these people, they are purely venture capitalists. They put in their money there. They hang on their subject that emerges and to recoup. So that's why we need a leader that will emerge from the people. So we are trying effortlessly to ensure that what we are trying to bring aboard, people buy into it. I'm assuring you, 65% of Nigeria are speaking their mind as I speak to you. You can take that to the bank.
The youth.
Not the youth, it's beyond the youth. You see, when you say youth, we are not looking at 1840. I've said the benchmark. 1840 is a grade. A 40, 65. We are wanted to put it at 55. People appeal to us. No. Put it, raise it a bit. We will not take it as it. I think we have magnanimous enough. You know, it's already trending. That is not the thinking. That's why I said earlier that any political party that undermines this call to rescue the system from bad leadership mechanism will have us to deal with, because we are in majority. Power belongs to the people. So we are good to go.
Okay, if we are good to go, let's see how that plays out when there are still many people in the interior, in the hinterland. If you are coming to cajole them to vote for you, you must be ready to come with a truckload of items such as rice, such as, well, textile material. Even if it's inferior, you must come with something like matchbox, you know, and with some stipends in the envelope. How are we going to you know, face that?
That is not an issue. If you are going home during Christmas or Salah time, will you go home empty-handed? It is normal that when your visitors come to you to ask for something, you must come with cola. We see that as cola. That does not change our mindset. What we used to tell our people, collect the money, collect the items, vote your conscience. But now I think we are trying to take it to another level. Reject the items. Vote your conscience.
Is it possible?
It's possible, sir. I don't like this word you are saying. Is it possible?
No, because we have seen many people queue and say, "Where's my own? No, I will not vote until I get my own. Where's my?"
How many are there? You know, you journalists, you go to area there are crisis too. You don't go to that woman, that man that have been taken money.
No, we have not seen.
I've seen many.
We report.
I'm a political mercuria. I'm telling you, I've seen many. I'm in the trenches. I'm in fit my child again. I'm telling you, I put it before you, and I challenge you to that.
You are not seeing.
You know, in Nigeria,
if you see, just record with your phone and let us have it.
Okay, if you so give me that responsibility, yes. So do. Let me tell you, you know, journalists in Nigeria, you are also part of the problem.
No, at all. Let me tell you. Without journalists,
yes,
the democracy Nigeria is enjoying today will not be possible. Do you know how many of our colleagues lost their life because of this battle?
Do you also know many of our social crusaders that are speaking truth to power?
Yes, no, journalists play the biggest role in this. 90-10.
Okay,
in percent.
Don't let us.
No, but it's the truth.
Don't let us.
No, but it's the truth. But at the end of the day, you just see them as if they have not done anything.
No, you are trying to take me out of context.
No, but the truth is that when you touch the profession, the noble profession, journalism that has contributed so much when it comes to democracy and otherwise, I should be able to stand for my profession and say this is what we have done.
Yes, I quite appreciate that aspect that we are trying to defend. But what I'm trying to tell you that most of your colleagues, they like picking crisis news.
If you say most of my colleagues,
I'm not trying to generalize them. I'm trying to be isolated cases.
You know, these days, everybody is becoming a journalist.
Of course.
Whether conventional or non-conventional.
Yes.
If a mechanic goes to a crisis area and uses his phone to, record, would you call that a journalist?
There are people freelance journalists.
No, that is not a freelance journalist.
Okay.
A freelance journalist must work with the ethics of the profession. It has to do with objectivity, balance, and fairness.
But you have commissioned me now that if I say anything that
I have to verify that. If you send to me, doesn't mean I'll put it on air. I have to verify. I have to go to that way and say, did this thing happen?
Okay.
I have to hear from
anyway, you are trying to overshadow me here, but I refuse to be overshadowed.
No, I'm telling you that.
What I'm trying to say, sir, with all due respect, is that journalists in Nigeria, crisis news go faster.
Can you look at the politician who has nothing to offer and wants to pay the people?
That is why we are now in this space to say those politicians that has nothing to offer.
Yes,
they are majority of them are above 65 upward.
Yes,
that's where they are.
Yes,
so we are trying to retire them since they are not seeing the gate. We are trying to take their hands and show them the exit gate. That's follow you out. We will allow you to play adversary role. We are not trying to disenfranchise people.
And then he tells you he has the constitutional rights to stand and canvass for vote.
Yeah, just like I have my freedom of expression, expressing myself, but within the context of good reportage. Now, what we are trying to say, if you believe that it is a family affair, you come and meet the people. We are tired of this old men crawling in the system because we did research and we discovered that it's part of the problem. It's part of the problem. Like any other person can also discuss other part of the problem that are also identified. We are in the 21st century, my brother, where we talk of digital leadership. Where you have a 44-year-old man being the president of a country like France. We have a 40-year-old man being the Prime Minister of Canada. Okay, are you with me? Are we on the same page right here? So that is what we are trying to say. Okay, because before now, people like Gowon was 37, Ibrahim Babangida 44. I think Obasanjo was around 40 or 42
when they came on board.
Then now you want to take it further to become 80, 90 to become president of this country. We are saying no to that. We are demure. We will resist that. No true violence, no true unconventional means, through the ballot box.
One
means. But what is important is for us to start conscientizing the people. What is impossible, my dear brother? Whoever thought that an object will be shot into the sky and it will fly like a plane? Let us take the risk. Let us go in there and do the job. And I believe I'm been able to convince you to join this. Now
you see,
Nigeria must move forward.
No, we all want to move forward.
Yes.
We all want to move forward. But you know there are some states that have very young people within that age bracket, and the outcome is really not pleasant. What if we have somebody within the age bracket that say, no, we don't want those in that other class, we want those in this class in terms of age category, and it's worse?
My brother, you are trying to dramatize the situation. We have looked back where we were and where we are now, and we know that among these people we are clamoring for now, there are those that are not too qualified. That is our duty now, to go into the space. Like my organization called Progressive Leaders Association. Okay. We go, I understand you. I have no money forever. So we try to go into the space to identify leaders, and we try to promote them, to bring them into the front burner, so that people will start seeing who they are and make their choice. That we are doing, and that we shall continue to be doing. Okay, it's our duty to sieve the good one away from the bad one and start pointing. This one is a good product. This one is a good product. This one is a good product, and start considering the people.
How many good products have you identified?
If you allow me to call name, I will so do. As I earlier mentioned, sir, with all due respect, I mentioned the one governor from Borno State. I mentioned the one in Ekiti State, and I mentioned His Excellency Ojius Okalu as a man who the carved from the southeast, a former governor who's the cause is starting. And I also mentioned even the VP is in the mix. It's a good product. You understand me? So that will let us all of us be ticking along that line. We mentioned Amina Mohammed, the Undersecretary, the Deputy Secretary of United Nations. We mentioned Maba World Trade Organization, Kojuwela. These are material. We mentioned Adesina in ADB. These are materials between that age that we are clamoring for.
So do you support zoning?
You see, zoning, that's a very big question. Zoning is not one of the tenets of democracy, but because of the peculiar situation we have found ourselves, Nigeria is a multicultural a country, and to capture the interest. We are trying to look at the peculiarities. So before now, political parties have been practicing zoning a little bit to the north and a little bit to the south. I think to allow for equity's sake and fairness, full participation and all inclusiveness, to not to look as if one side has been so behemoth overlapping on the other side. I think zoning is okay, because there's no part in this country that you cannot find credible people. Like I mentioned earlier, you can see that the people I mentioned got across. So zoning is very key, and by the time you zone, you look at the area that is totally disadvantaged, that have not enjoyed this so-called
like which area now?
You're asking me, you know.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
If you so say as you speak, with all fairness, if we talk of one Nigeria, I'm talking for myself, and I'm talking as a true Nigerian that is nationalistic for this country to move forward. The Northeast has not enjoyed this position of president since we returned to democracy in 1999, and that's in the northern part of Nigeria. And the other part of Nigeria in the south that is totally disadvantaged, we need to bring them on board. It's a southeast. Is southeast not part of Nigeria? Are they not having people that can be present? Look, we should look beyond religious configuration, tribal settlement, and let us look at ourselves as Nigeria. That is why Rwanda is what it is today. Southeast is deserving. Southeast is deserving. You agree with the fact that so zone have had it as a president, as vice president, while so zone are just onlookers. With all fairness, my brother.
They're not really onlookers. Maybe they are not. You know, what we call it now, when you express interest.
No, I totally disagree with you, and I distance myself with you. You know, what we will say now at this point is that those zones that believe that they are being disenfranchised or being taken aloof, they should start reaching out. You see, politics is a game of reaching out. It's a game of
number.
Beside number, you say your interest to the other zones, so that everybody can be on board. Okay, I believe we have people that have capacity in the southeast to be on board. Ojus Okalu is there. Kenny Namali is there. Umehi, the governor Umehi is also there. These people, when we beat on board, they'll be nationalistic. They have the country at hand. They will move Nigeria forward.
Comrade Bello Osaritin, thank you so much for your time with us on the program this morning. Speaking your mind as it concerns 2023, and the belief is that this can be taken to those that are within the age of 65 and below, and at this time we can look either northeast or southeast, and in southeast you have three people in your mind, and in northeast you have just one man in your mind. Okay, well, we will end it here. Thank you so much for your time.
God bless you for having me.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, it shall be time for another discussion. Stay with us.